Welcome to Dyspraxic Rosie Writes, a channel where we talk about dyspraxia, chronic illness, and the writing life. Today's video is the end of a 5-part series on the basics of traditional publishing. If you want to go back and watch the rest of the videos and haven't got the chance to do so yet, do not worry, I will link to them in the description. And this one today is going to be on the subject of author money, not necessarily the strategy part, but dispelling some myths around how that works and also some of the various common ways that authors make money off their books and form a business around their books. The first two key terms we're going to go over in order to understand this topic better is royalties and advances. So more on that in a moment. In traditional publishing, it is essentially a business of sharing a percentage of sales, and that applies to both the author and all involved in the overall process. So that is exactly what the concept of royalties is all about. So royalties is that percentage of sales, and based on what your contract says, you have to meet a minimum target for those sales, and you will be paid out, usually depending on the contract as well, if you meet that minimum target, once or twice a year. Advances are something that only some authors receive. And once again, that depends on the terms of your contract. So basically, the amount within the advance itself, if you receive one, is based on an estimate of how much the book is going to sell. It can be very high and very low, and when you receive an advance, you are getting paid out in installments of the full amount. And then you basically, although the real downside of advances, if you received one, is that you are expected to make back the full amount of the advance itself in order to receive future royalties. Then, as an author, there are miscellaneous other payments you can be eligible for, although this is where the country that you're published in and the country your residence in starts to vary a little bit in terms of what you're eligible for. For example, as a Canadian citizen, once I was traditionally published for the very first time, I became eligible for something that is called the public lending right, meaning that once a year, also once again, book money is funny like this, if I meet a minimum target on amount of people that take my book out of library and go and borrow it from a library within Canada, then once a year from the Canadian Arts Council, I receive a payment that is based on the total amount of library lending within Canada. Then there's the Authors Licensing and Copyright Society. It's based over in the UK. I am a member as a traditionally published author with a British publisher. And basically what that means is twice a year, they are collecting payments for all their members in terms of total amounts owed on usual copywriting costs. So that's like photocopies of textbooks and redistribution in audio formats and usages within books and things like that. And once again, if you're meeting the requirements of the minimum amount you receive, you will receive a payment twice a year. And that is another very common one for authors as well, particularly authors who are like me and are traditionally published within the UK. However, a necessity of that lifestyle as well, because I'm not going to lie to you for even a second and say that this is something that you can get rich on, because, well, no, you cannot, is to also have other sources of income as well. I mean, in many cases, for many authors, it's taking on freelancing and consulting work. It's having a part or full-time job, and it's through doing things like content creation projects as well. Being an author now, although there isn't people who make a ton of money off it, are fairly rare, is about forming a business and a brand around your existing books and positioning yourself as an expert in things related to your books and your brand. And that very much plays a role in it. And also, on top of all that, overall, you have to go into this doing it because you really, really love the craft. You really, really love connecting with people and the things you write about. And ultimately, that is the bottom line. If you found that helpful, like and subscribe. And I hope to see you again soon. Happy reading, happy writing, my friends.